From surprisingly powerful characters
They didn't plan for that, did ya?
to painful inner fights and battles with the most powerful opponents.
Stop talking and fight.
Let's dive into OSSA's ultimate ranking of badass scenes in One Piece.
You don't ever bad mouth on me.
Number 10, Luffy escaping Garp. Fans of the manga and anime know that Vice Admiral Garp doesn't get introduced until much later in the original material. And the revelation that he's Luffy's grandfather also happens really early in the live-action series. But this change actually makes sense in a few ways. First of all, the showrunners wanted to have antagonists who weren't only pirates. And even more importantly, without Garp, we wouldn't have this epic moment. Sure, as Nami later mentioned, it wasn't that much of a victory, because their reactions to the marine attack showed how unprepared the whole crew was for the dangers ahead. They only got through it thanks to luck and quick thinking, and Luffy's powers, of course. But it still doesn't make this moment less epic! And it wasn't the only time they met Rubber Boy's grandpa. Number 9, Garp kicking Luffy's butt. Throughout the 8 episodes of the series, we saw Luffy defeat quite a few enemies. Axehand, Buggy, Kuro, Arlong. He came out victorious in all these fights. So when he had to go against his grandfather, viewers unfamiliar with the source material probably expected him to win in a few seconds. But it turned out to be the only time Luffy was defeated. Heck, he couldn't deliver a single blow to Garp and got his butt kicked big time.
When are you gonna learn that you can't win?
And all with so much class and style. Fans of the OG know that this wasn't accidental, because Garp has managed to master all 3 types of Haki, superhuman abilities. He's extra strong and can use his body parts as weapons in a fight. We expect to see more of the Vice Admiral if Season 2 gets the green light, just like our next badass character. Number 8, Shanks scaring off a Sea King. When we first see this red-haired pirate in the live-action One Piece, he comes across as quite a goofy guy. Then we find out that his strength is knowing when to fight and when to let things slide.
Not everything can be solved with violence. A man needs to be strong, but he also needs to be good.
But soon we see that this isn't his only advantage. Shanks also possesses the power to scare off a huge hungry beast, known as the Sea King.
Get lost.
He does it with just a look, without lifting a finger. If you haven't read or seen the source material, we don't want to spoil too much for you. So let's just say that it's a hint that Shanks is way more powerful than he seems. Plus the fact that he didn't even flinch when the monster bit off his arm.
It's your own. It's my fault. It's all my fault.
It's only an arm. I'm just glad that you're okay.
Now let's recall one of the most powerful villains in the first season of One Piece. Number 7. So many things about Kuro. Episode 4 of the live-action series is pretty creepy. Kuro's cold stalking of Kaya makes it look a bit like a horror movie.
Oh, Miss Kaya. Kaya?
Stunningly portrayed by Alexander Maniatis, the captain of the Black Cat Pirates is viciously wicked. And thanks to his supernatural abilities, it seems like nothing can beat him. It isn't easy for Luffy to understand his weakness.
I'm done talking. Now I'm listening.
And as soon as the future Pirate King realizes how to defeat the bad guy, he leaves him no chance.
Oh my god!
It's actually cool that Luffy only launches Kuro out of the window and doesn't finish him off, because it means that we'll probably see more of this creepy character down the road. His crew members were less lucky though, since they met the future greatest swordsman on their way. Number 6, Zoro defeating the ferocious cats. His battle with Bucci and Sham is a great display of his swordsman skills. The fighting choreography in this scene is amazing. We see Zoro utilize the stairs, banisters, and any other surface he can find to beat his enemies. Well, it's no wonder he's called a pirate hunter and even a demon. The guy is totally ruthless to those who dare to stand against him, especially if they touch the sword that means the world to Zoro. Yeah, they definitely shouldn't have done that. It's also cool how Zoro just puts the Wado Ichimonji back into the case and doesn't even use it on the Black Cats. He only takes his third sword out in the most challenging of fights, like the one we'll talk about next. Number 5, Escape from Shell's Town. Zoro, Luffy, and Nami fighting the squad of Marines was epic. Although it only lasted for less than 5 minutes, it wasn't easy to film. After all, the scene required high-energy acrobatics and over-the-top swordplay. Apart from the main actors, more than 40 stunt performers in Marine uniforms joined in, and it was all done in 90-degree heat. But everything was worth it because we got to see Nami's incredible bow staff skills. Luffy also shows what he's capable of, with or without his gum-gum powers. His energy is just amazing in this scene. And Zoro doesn't only showcase his sword fighting skills, he also reveals his humane side. After all, he could have easily walked away from the guys as they weren't his crew at that point, but he stayed to help, and the rest is history. And that was only the first battle of the Straw Hat crew, so let's talk about the second one. Number 4, a fight with the Chop Chop Man. This guy wasn't easy to beat.
How am I supposed to slice the guy who's already in pieces?
This is not part of the plan.
But the Straw Hats found a way, and a hilarious one, we must admit.
One Piece will never be yours!
Here's the secret behind this epic scene. Most of it was done with practical effects. The Nami actress really had to kick Buggy's body parts into the crates when they filmed it.
And we were actually, I was hitting some real, they had like rubber limbs. And so like you were throwing them, Daryl was throwing them, and I was like.
Plus, some crew members were running around wearing green costumes and holding sticks with fake limbs attached. That's what we call dedication. But let's distract ourselves from the fights for a bit and talk about another kind of badass scene. Number 3, Climb to the Light. This moment is filled with both drama and badassery. After the quickly ended fight with Kuro and his cronies, Zoro finds himself at the bottom of a deep well, and he has no choice but to climb out of it. It's a difficult task, to say the least, but while we're rooting for him, we also get to find out about Zoro's backstory. Turns out that his dream to become the world's greatest swordsman isn't egotistical in the slightest. It comes from the promise he made years ago to a deceased friend.
If we keep that vow, one of us will become the world's greatest swordsman
Or woman.
to ever live.
The fight choreography from Zoro's flashbacks, combined with the emotional tone, make this scene one of the best in the series. From the sequence that we'll discuss soon, it becomes even clearer how much he would sacrifice to honor his friend. But first, let's talk about another moment. Number 2, the Arlong Park fight. This badass moment is in 2 parts, and we see both of them. First of all, of course, it's Sanji and Zoro versus Arlong's crew. The level of acrobatics and combat choreography in this one is unbelievable, with Sanji's epic kicks, Zoro's undeniable sword mastery, and dozens of fishmen jumping up from all over the place. This scene is on another level. Meanwhile, yet another, even more badass part of the sequence was happening in the map room, the fight between Luffy and Arlong.
But I can destroy everything you built.
Rigs and wiring, as well as easy-to-smash columns made of foam blocks, made things slightly easier. And we can't forget the final touch of Luffy's battle axe kick. Only one scene in the whole series could beat the epicness of it all, and that is... Number 1, Zoro versus Mihawk. To become the world's greatest swordsman, Zoro has to kill the person who holds that title. And as soon as he appears on the horizon, our green-haired hero is eager to fight him. At first, it looks like he has a chance,
I don't hunt rabbits with a cannon.
I'm no rabbit.
Despite all the mocking Mihawk does during their duel,
You're like a little frog croaking in a well. Croak, croak, croak.
Zoro remains determined to defeat him once and for all.
God, you want to run, huh?
Hardly.
But things don't go as planned, as his opponent is way too strong for him. And we have to give Zoro his due, because he's ready to die like a hero.
Wounds on the back are a swordsman's greatest fate.
Yet, Mihawk isn't just another cruel, bloodthirsty pirate. Seeing his potential, the warlord lets Zoro live and challenges him to another duel one day in the future.
Grow strong and come find me. I'll be waiting.
This moment stands out not only because it's easily the most badass scene in the entire series, but also because Zoro is an example of how far the Straw Hats still need to go to attain their dreams. Also, props to the writers, as this fight followed the source material very closely. Do you agree with our rating? What other badass moments from One Piece would you add? Share in the comments below. And if you want to watch more videos about the live-action series, check out what else we have on OSSA.
It's time to exit stage left.